Nope, you're muted.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I see we're getting a few more folks coming in, so I'll just give it that one more minute, and then I can give a great introduction for our speaker today and get going for you. So let me just give one more minute, make sure we don't have anybody. All right. Perfect. Well, with that, I have the pleasure of introducing Andrew Cavanaugh, or Andy. So, we have one person. So Andy Cavanaugh coordinates the upper level technical writing class and the 200 level professional writing at UMGC. He holds an EDD in instructional technology from Towson University, and he serves as an assistant technology coordinator for the Association for Business Communication, the ABC. And he serves as a co-chair for the English Affinity Group for the Provost Transfer Council of the University Systems of Maryland. So with that, Andy.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining me. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to share my full monitor because I'm going to play some one or two video clips during this presentation. So I'll share my sound as well. So you should be seeing my opening screen. And so this is called using Zoom to provide screencasting feedback to students. We're going to talk about video feedback in general and my experiences with using Zoom, but we're going to compare that with my experiences using Camtasia, and to some extent my experiences using Snagit, another program. So I just want to mention that feedback on student writing has been a topic of discussion for decades. There's just volumes of literature on this and what to give feedback on, how much feedback to give, how to give the feedback. And as classes have gone online, this has become more acute. It used to be that you could, in a face-to-face class, talk to a student during break or after class with the paper in hand and explain things in online or in your office perhaps, but in online classes, you often never see the student. So effective feedback online is even more important. Feedback has certainly evolved. You remember the days when you got handwritten feedback from an instructor and the instructor physically gave you the paper back. Typed comments became more common as the digital environments emerged. Audio feedback has actually been used for decades. In the 1980s, some faculty were giving cassette tapes to students with their recorded feedback on their papers. So audio feedback has actually been around for a long time, but it has become, in the form of the MP3 file now in the digital environment. So video feedback has emerged in the literature quite a bit as a result of our increased online presence in teaching. Now, I want to mention something about the literature on video feedback. The purpose of this presentation is not to give a full-blown literature review, but I just want to mention a few things that some researchers have found. Screencasting, it's often called screencasting. Video feedback is often called screencasting, and one instructor calls it feedback, video feedback, feedback. I thought that was kind of clever. But screencasting has been experimented with and used for non-native speakers of English. And Ali, she conducted a study in Egypt, and in her study, the students found the video feedback to be succinct, unambiguous, multimodal, personal, feed-forwarding, and motivating. Think of some of the adjectives students use when they get video feedback. Succinct, unambiguous. Elvira conducted a study in Colombia, and 84% of the students in his study found the video feedback to be helpful, and 80% said it improved their writing. Cunningham is an ESL teacher in the Midwest. Her students pointed out that video feedback had efficiency, clarity, ease of use, and heightened understanding. So think of that, efficiency and clarity, as well as heightened understanding. Ghassan Chalal and Al-Chabani, among Arabic-speaking students, their students commented on the clarity and intelligibility, the depth of information and explanations, the interactivity and multimodality, and the time involved in receiving video feedback. And interestingly enough, their students said that recorded video feedback saved time because it decreased the need for student-teacher conferences. It eliminated the effort of deciphering teachers' written comments. In other words, students found that screencasting feedback for them saved time because it was so clear that they didn't have to go back to the instructor and ask for clarity as much as they had to for more traditional methods of feedback. Szlachta and her co-authors among Polish, native speakers of Polish, mentioned that screencasts proved their importance in developing the students' positive attitudes toward improving their writing performance. Now, those are non-native speakers of English. Here are some other fields in which video feedback has been studied. So what's interesting about video feedback is all sorts of fields are using it and publishing articles on it. Other forms of feedback tend to be studied by writing instructors, but all sorts of instructors are using video feedback. Harper, for German and Spanish, students learning German and Spanish, said that the screencasting offered an engaging and motivating method of providing memorable feedback of increased clarity and comprehensibility. Again, we have that clarity and comprehensibility. This is a really nice study from Silva for engineering students. She used Camtasia. And in her study of 17 students, 8 of them absolutely preferred video commentary, and 6 of them found value in both the Microsoft Word comments and the video. But what they noticed was that video feedback was very helpful for global level feedback. In other words, comments on things like the thesis statement, the research question, the organization, and the claims. They found that the text feedback was better for grammatical errors, punctuation, things of that nature. Now, Marriott and Teo, for business students, among their 124 students they studied, 71.8% preferred the screencasting video feedback. The traditional written feedback, 6.5% preferred that. For Joseph Edwards, this is a study in the Caribbean. Interestingly enough, they say that video feedback mirrors to some degree a conversation by the inclusion of visual cues, greetings, and praise. So again, as we teach more and more online, video, the type of feedback we give, that's not only clear, but kind of mirrors a conversation can be important. McCarthy teaches media arts students, and that's a field that involves a lot of visual type of the documentation, not just text. And because of its predominantly visual medium, the students appreciated the video feedback. They mentioned it was useful to point out areas in the assignment that he was referring to. And van der Zijden, and among pharmaceutical students, they said all students that received screencast feedback indicated they experienced the feedback as positive, specifically because of the quality of the feedback. They mentioned the feedback was detailed and easy to understand. Again, we have that easy to understand, that clarity. Lowenthal mentioned in his study, in their study, that two items in their survey, 62.2% of the students said that they learned more in the course because of the video feedback. 73.2% in the study said that video feedback allowed them to better understand the nuances of what my instructor was communicating. That's another theme that we see in the literature from audio and video feedback. The nuance of the instructor, the tone of the instructor comes out. Just very briefly, some instructors have had mixed experiences with video feedback. Borup, his study showed that instructors actually preferred text feedback. They said that text feedback was more convenient because they could provide it wherever they were, but when they wanted to give video feedback, they had to be in a quiet place. I think as more of us are working from home, maybe it's easier to find quiet places. But they also found that with text feedback, you can reuse a lot of your comments. A lot of instructors have ready-made comments that they can copy and paste into a paper. You can't do that with video feedback. Kilikaya found the same thing. Text comments can be reused. Now, McCarthy made the case that let me talk about Lowenthal for a second. Lowenthal made the case, though, that while there's a heavier time investment for video feedback than text feedback, it's worth the time because it helps overcome the isolation that online students often feel. So his argument is that you should give video feedback to specific papers for which it's especially pivotal to students, maybe not every paper. And Orlando found that actually of his 4 out of 6 instructors in his study found that easy to provide video feedback through screencasting. Only one of them found it challenging. So there's mixed experiences among instructors with regard to video feedback. I think we would all agree it takes a bit more time. The question is whether the time is worth it. And my experience in providing video feedback is that I've been using Camtasia for years. And I have a subscription to screencast.com. TechSmith is the company that makes Camtasia, and they have a screencast.com server you can subscribe to. So when you make your video in Camtasia, you can click a button and upload it to screencast.com. It's a lot more seamless than posting it to something like YouTube. But you can also produce it locally as an MP4 file. Well, just this semester, I've been experimenting with the use of Zoom. And there are various reasons. Zoom is provided by the university, whereas you have to pay for Camtasia. So if you're getting instructors to try video feedback, Zoom is a product they have provided by their university in most cases. So I'm going to talk about my experiences using Zoom. Snagit, the reason this came up is it's made by the same company that makes Camtasia. TechSmith makes Snagit. Snagit, in my understanding, was a screen capture program originally, but they added a video feature to it. I've always had Snagit. I mean, I've had it for years, but I've never understood why they had the video feature. But I had a meeting with a representative from TechSmith earlier this semester, and he explained that Snagit is a basic video production tool. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles Camtasia has. So it's quicker, but you just can't do as much with it. So I thought, maybe I'll try Snagit as well. Well, what I found with Zoom, and I'm going to try to illustrate this a little bit during this presentation, is in Zoom, you can save the recording to your computer or save it to the cloud. I decided it was easier to save it to my computer. As you probably experienced, when you save a Zoom meeting to the cloud, you have to wait for the email from Zoom to tell you when it's ready. So if you're giving feedback to, say, 10 or 12 students, and you've produced video feedback to one student, if you then save it to the cloud, you kind of wait for the email to come while you're working on the feedback to the second student. And so you're kind of working on two students at the same time. I found it easier simply to save it to my computer and upload the MP4 to the class. In Zoom, I found pausing the video to be awkward. Sometimes when you're giving feedback to a student in screencasting, you find yourself needing to stop and think, or you might find yourself saying something that you might want to reword. And so you want to pause the video and get your thoughts together. Well, pausing the video in Zoom is possible, but it's just a little bit more awkward than it is with something like Camtasia. Sharing different screens can be awkward, but I have found I have a huge 48-inch screen, and if I share that screen, I'm actually able to share multiple screens with students without changing my sharing. The inability to edit the video once it's done is a limitation with Zoom. Let me talk about that. There are no bells and whistles with Zoom. Pardon the pun, but you can't zoom with Zoom. In other words, you can't zoom in on a particular student's text or make an arrow point to a text. I will mention at this point that sometimes I handle student complaints at my university, and sometimes I will make a video for a student to explain what's going on in the class and why the student, perhaps received this particular grade or this type of thing. When I'm making a video of that nature for a student, I will use Camtasia because I want to zoom in on things. I want to draw arrows to things. I want to have, I want to underline things. I have had students for whom I want to demonstrate plagiarism issues, and I will show them the text on the web and the text on their screen, and I will point with arrows. For that kind of thing, no doubt, I'm using Camtasia. With Zoom, it's feedback to a student's writing that's just basic feedback. Forget the bells and whistles of the arrows and things of that nature. The efficiency with Zoom was surprising. I thought it was going to be clunky. I thought Zoom is a meeting format, and to use it as a video production tool is going to be clunky. I found it to be surprisingly efficient. So I made this short video. It has no audio. It's just in case you're not familiar with this process. So I'm going to bring this up. Now I'm going to share this on my screen. Sorry. I'll just make this bigger. And so you can see, you open up the video, you open up the Zoom meeting, and I had to make this video, I had to move all these things over to make sure they were captured on video. So you get your opening screen, and as you typically do with Zoom, you join with computer audio, and you can share your screen. Now, of course, you'll have the student's paper up before you do this. So you'll see I'm actually creating a fictitious student paper right here on the video. So when I share it, it's just going to say something like student paper. But when you share the screen, you have a choice. You can share one of your monitors, like you see I have screen 1, screen 2, screen 3, or you can share the actual document. And I have a 48-inch monitor, so sometimes I found that to be the best thing to share. But in this case, I'm sharing the screen, sharing the it's just a fictitious paper called student's paper. I would then hit the record button. Yeah, I'm bringing this over to show this. You have to hit that ellipsis, and you have a choice: record on the cloud or record on the computer. I prefer to record on the computer. Once you do that, you can start talking, and then of course, when you're done, you click stop share, you click stop video, and you exit the meeting, and the video starts to get generated. So that's just a brief, in case you're not familiar, that's how you would create a video in Zoom. So I want to talk about starting Zoom, starting Camtasia, and I'm going to talk eventually about starting Snagit, but because Zoom is not a video production tool and Camtasia is, so it takes 2 minutes to start Camtasia. It has to upload all sorts of tools and annotations and things of that nature, whereas Zoom, I actually think 30 seconds is, I don't even think it takes that long. And Snagit is the same type of thing. It's, you just open it up and it's there. But Camtasia takes a while to load. So if you're giving one piece of quick feedback to students, it's going to take you 2 minutes or more to just get Camtasia running. Once it's running, though, you can just create new projects and continue to give feedback in Camtasia. But I just want to mention that Camtasia can test your patience. Now, with regard to generating the recording, I have 6 students in my class. Their initials are here. For KS, he had a strong paper, so I gave him a video of 3 minutes and 46 seconds because I didn't have a whole lot to tell him. He had a really strong first draft. For PC, she had a lot more issues. I gave her a video of 9 minutes and 53 seconds. ND had a pretty strong paper. Her video is 5:27. MR 6:11, TN is 4:18. MF had a few more issues to comment on, so his video was 7 minutes and 55 seconds long. When I made these videos in Zoom, and I went ahead and made them in Camtasia as well, but for Camtasia, as I said, you can create a local MP4 file on your computer, or you can post it as an online link to screencast.com. And for this particular student, KS, it took 2 minutes for Zoom to generate the local MP4 file, and it was the same for Camtasia. It takes a little longer to post it online. For this student, I'm going to comment on this in a second. Zoom video files are kind of odd in terms of their size, and it took a lot longer, well, at least 1 minute and 20 longer, for the local MP4 video to be produced than it did for Camtasia. Of course, it took Camtasia a lot longer to post online, sometimes posting the screencast is persnickety. Here, this one was pretty, predictable. And for some reason, Zoom wasn't as fast as Camtasia in producing this local MP4 file. For some reason, Zoom was more efficient in producing this local MP4 file. And for some reason, Zoom was more efficient on this one. But this is, I just want to mention something I noticed. And by the way, Snagit takes like 10 seconds. So if you want a really fast tool, just Snagit beats them all. But I got intrigued by why certain Zoom recordings were taking longer to produce or others were taking shorter to produce. So I looked at some of the Zoom recordings that I had produced using Zoom, and take a look. Here's a 2 minute and 36 second Zoom video. Here's a 4-minute and 18-second Zoom video, and here is a 3-minute and 46-second Zoom video. But the sizes of the files are so disparate. The 4-minute and 18-second video is twice as long as the 2-minute and 36-second video, but it's 4 times as big in video size. And the 3-minute and 46-second video is more than twice the size of the 2-minute and 36-second video. What's also intriguing is here is a 9-minute and 53-second video that is smaller in size than a 7-minute and 52-second video. Moreover, here's a couple other, I actually, for that 9-minute and 53-second video, I went ahead and made additional ones to test them out. And actually, I'll put them all together here on the right-hand side of the screen. For these 3 videos that are essentially the same size, the video size, the file size is all over the place, twice as big for one of them than the smallest one. So Zoom seems to make video files of different sizes for, I wasn't sure of the rhyme or reason for this. I went ahead and did a little bit of research on this. Well, not research, I just kind of Googled it. But here in the community room of Zoom, somebody posted a question. Does anyone know why the size of the recording files of a meeting would suddenly be 2 or 3 times as many megabytes as previously? This person writes, I have a 1-hour meeting that I record weekly. It's usually around 230 to 270. But 2 weeks ago, I noticed it was 492. And the Zoom representative responded, recording sizes can vary depending on a few factors, such as the number of participants with video on, overall video resolution of the meeting, shared screens, and the overall resolution of the shared content. I thought that was interesting. By the way, if you take a look at this forum, people are a little bit annoyed with this. They say this is the same answer we keep getting from Zoom. It all depends on a few factors. But I wonder if you're giving feedback to a student, video feedback to a student through Zoom, if the student's paper is really colorful, or if you're sharing multiple screens, which I sometimes do, I'll sometimes share the student's paper and I'll share another screen of some other information. Does that affect the resolution size, and does that make the video bigger? And so you might have a 5-minute video produced in Zoom that's half the size of another 5-minute video in Zoom. I just was really intrigued by this, and I don't know the answer. I do want to give you a hypothetical example. This is not a real student paper, but this would be the type of paper a student could write in one of our classes at UMGC on RFID technology. This is actually part of the paper. And I made a video to give feedback to the student on, and I made the video in Zoom. So I'm going to bring this up again. I'm going to have to, oh, it's coming up on the same screen. Okay, so you should be seeing this, and you'll hear, whoops, 1 second here. You'll hear my voice in a second. Hi, Sharon. This is Professor Cavanaugh giving you feedback on your background and definition of RFID technology. I'm going to share my screen and show you your paper. And so you should be seeing your paper right now, and these video comments will help you write a second draft. Now you start off this definition and background of RFID technology. You've got this in bold and italics and left aligned, but this particular, according to APA, this particular heading should not be left aligned. I'd like you to take a look at the resource in our class in week 3 about headings in APA. This is your one of your main headings. Now, you notice how you've got a quote here from Want, 2004, and you start the quote here, and you end the quote here, but you've got a quote within the quote. The word passive is a quote within the quote. When you have a quote within the quote, you don't want double quotes. A quote within a quote has to have single quotation marks. In addition, whenever you have a quote, you need either a page number or a paragraph number. It would be a page number for a journal article. It would be a paragraph number for a website. Now, you do a nice job of integrating Ozark and Want here. I'm going to skip down to this this paragraph here. You've got a run-on sentence. starts here. Through the use of RFID technology, one hotel has reduced the rate of missing items by 30%. In addition, research shows that when customers attend any type of event, they tend to spend more money when they have RFID applications, with increases from 25 to 30% when they have RFID devices over when they use cash or credit cards from their wallets. Do you see where a period should have gone? I'm going to let you kind of take a look at that and diagnose that. You've cited two sources here, which is fine, but you don't put the word "and" between the sources when you do this. You would put a semicolon between the sources when you do this. I want to question your word choice here. Moreover, RFID devices saves time. I'm sorry, you've got a subject verb agreement problem there. RFID devices saves customers time. I'll let you see how to adjust the verb there. Lefter points out that people who attend large events tend to spend huge chunks of time waiting in lines at the events, and RFID technology can reduce the amount of time. This is very informal writing. Spend huge chunks of time. For a report like this to a superior or to a professional audience, you don't want to use that type of word choice. Often the word significant is helpful for phrases like this, a significant amount of time or something of that nature. Then you write, thus, with RFID bans, Forest Entertainment Incorporated customers will not only spend more money because of the increased convenience, but they also more time. Whenever you have not only, but also, you want parallel structure. In this case, not only spend, but also you need a verb. You know, it can be not only a verb, but also a verb, not only a noun, but also a noun, not only an adjective, but also an adjective. But you want to have parallel structure here. So I suggest a verb here. Take a look at this. We are aware of things, right? This sentence reads, RFID technology has been ubiquitous in the areas of the economy that many of us might not be aware. But we need to be aware of things. So whenever you're talking about being aware, you need to have the preposition of. Again, you've got a quote here from Watt, but no page number. It's a page number if it's a journal article. It's a paragraph number if it is a website. You got a nice table here, but the note and the source of the table should be aligned with the table. These should not be aligned out here. They should be aligned with the table. Finally, when you conclude here, you talk about Forest Entertainment, what the concert unit will do. You write, we would take automated payment for venues, food, and other items. We would check IDs as a form of access control, and we would locate a customer's car in the parking lot. So you're doing three things. Take, check, we would take, we would check, and we would locate. But you've got commas within the items. In other words, we would take automated payment for venues, food, and other items. So ideally, when you have a series of 3 or more items, and the items themselves have commas in them, you would use semicolons to divide the items. Moreover, a customer's car, you've got this written as if it's plural possessive, but with the indefinite article it can't be plural. So you intended singular possessive here. I'll let you diagnose that. Go ahead and submit a second draft into the same folder. Thanks so much. Take care. Okay. What I wanted to mention there is, as we saw from some of the literature, students found video feedback to have a lot of clarity. They were able to understand the instructor's nuance. They didn't need to go back to the instructor often for clarification. And what video feedback allows you to do is not only talk to the student, read a run-on sentence, but point it out. When you have a document that involves some visual items, like that had a table, to point out that the note and the source were not aligned with the table. Just pointing out where an apostrophe is, incorrect. sometimes giving the student an answer, but simply saying, I'm going to leave you to answer this. I will say, you noticed at the end, there was some silence. It was before I commented on that last sentence. That's because I got an email message. I was in the middle of giving that feedback and my email was up and I got an email and my email dinged. So I looked over at my email and that's the issue with Zoom is you can't, if this had been in Camtasia, I would have just deleted that part. I would have just deleted that silence. But in Zoom, what you produce is what you get. It's not a video editing platform at all. So you want to, sometimes I've made videos in Zoom and I start off and I realize I said the wrong thing. So I just start the video again. I just eliminate that. I just abort the process right there and start a new video again. I have one time I meant to share my screen. I'm sorry, I meant to pause my recording in Zoom and I hit the wrong button. And instead I paused my screen share, which messed everything up and I just ended up starting the video again. This doesn't happen often and you get better at it as you go, but these are just quirks you have to put up with regard to Zoom. It's a meeting platform that records meetings. It's not a video production platform. So if you're going to use it to make a video, you just have to be aware of these things. By the way, that recording took 6 minutes and 13 seconds, but generating that video took 1 minute and 23 seconds. Didn't take long to generate that video. This is an actual student's paper for which I gave feedback through Zoom. The problem with this example is because it's an actual student's paper, I had to then blur the student's document out. But I'm going to show you at least part of this because this is a technical writing class and the student wrote a cover letter, a resume, and an analysis of the document design of the resume. 3 parts, cover letter, resume, and an analysis of how the resume was designed for document style. And this, you're not going to see this well because I blurred out her paper, but this is how video can help give feedback to students when their papers have a visual element to them, like document design. So again, I don't know if I'm going to play this whole video for you, but for what it's worth. Hi, this is Professor Cavanaugh. I'm giving you feedback on writing assignment number 5, your first draft cover letter, resume, and PARC analysis. So right now, I'm going to show you your resume. Actually, I'm going to start with the cover letter. And notice that in the cover letter, and I'll make this a little bit bigger, you have kind of a long paragraph to start the cover letter. And my name is so-and-so, and I've done this, and I have experience in this. The second paragraph reads, I'm exceptional in time management and attention to detail, but then you get into your IT background. So I think these paragraphs should be changed a bit. And what I want to do is I want to actually stop sharing my screen and show you the sample, the direction on cover letters that was given by the UMGC website. So with that in mind, now this is the issue with Zoom. I'm trying to share a different screen and I'm searching for the screen and so there's this big silence in the video. Pardon me. I think what I might be able to do is show you both your cover letter and the page from UMGC. So give me a second on that. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen here, and what you're seeing now is your cover letter here, but okay. Here is, I'm pausing this video to say, I have a 48-inch monitor, and that's what I'm sharing right now, is this 48-inch monitor. So I'm able to share this UMGC website on the right side of the monitor and her paper on the left-hand side. And that's really helpful because I can show her what the sample cover letters on UMGC's website show and what her cover letter demonstrates. But I don't know how this would work on a 32 or 24-inch monitor, but I have a 48-inch monitor. So on the right-hand side, the recommendation from the UMGC, and if you click on, for the cover letter section, the format and sample, paragraph 1, your first paragraph should indicate the position title where you learned about it, express interest. So you wouldn't say in the first paragraph why you're qualified. Your first paragraph is this. The second paragraph gets into why you're a good fit for the position. If you have only 3 paragraphs, your last paragraph would be the closing, in which you you include a statement, about looking forward to hearing from them. And if you take a look at the sample cover letters, so here's a sample cover letter for a career launcher. I'm writing for this to express interest in this, and then you get into your background. Here's a sample cover letter for an experienced person. I am writing to express interest, and then you get into your experience. Now, this one this is called paragraph style. This takes a little different approach, and it's not totally my preference here, but so let me stop the video again. As you can see, when you have these periods of silence or these times when you're kind of thinking, Zoom is more difficult to work with. You can pause the recording, but you got to hit the right button to do that. In Camtasia, you can simply delete these periods of silence. But if you were to forward to another part of the video, you'd see me commenting on her resume, and her resume, which although it's blurred out, is very graphic. She uses lots of contrast with red and color for fonts and things, but some things are not aligned, and there are some things that just need more clarification. And I'm able to point out the lack of alignment on the video, as well as some of the areas in the resume in which she might have used the wrong verb tense or didn't clarify what she did. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just exit this video. And that's an actual example, but I had to blur out the student's paper. That's really it. Now, here are the references that were cited throughout this presentation, but that's my analysis of my experience with not only screencasting, but specifically with Zoom. I found Zoom to be surprisingly efficient, and as you get better at it, it's actually a very doable tool. And as I said, if your university gives you a Zoom account, you don't have to purchase any software or anything of that nature to produce videos for your students. I would agree with some of the previous authors I cited, Lowenthal. Giving video feedback on every student assignment is a bit much. I think that's a lot of time investment for the instructor, but key assignments, ones that are perhaps longer or that involve more visual elements, they can be really helpful. So I think I will just stop sharing my screen at this point and take any questions or comments.
Hey, Andy, I have a question.
Hey, Sarah.
When you save all those videos to your computer, do you have a plan for, do you keep them a certain length of time? Do you have a file system, or do you just delete them as soon as you provide them to the student?
I don't delete them as soon as I provide them to the student. I could, because if I attach them to the learning management system, then they're there, and I could. But as a matter of fact, I was finding this week my hard drive getting low, and I have an external hard drive. So I just transferred to the external hard drive, which is, at least a terabyte. I think, yeah, eventually I'm going to be deleting files from 2 or 3 semesters ago. But again, they'd be on my external hard drive, and they wouldn't be a problem.
Thanks.
Okay, the question is, do you encounter any privacy questions or issues? No, but so when I post it to screencast.com, I make it private. The Camtasia has some settings that you can choose, and if you choose private, that means only the person who has the link can find the video. But the question that has come up is, some universities might not want feedback to students on a server like screencast.com. That is the beauty of using Zoom, because your university has a Zoom account, and so the server would be secure in your university system. That's kind of what brought this topic up. Maybe Zoom is a better way to produce video. But then if you're producing a local MP4 file and posting it to the learning management system anyway, it almost doesn't matter where you produce the video, because it's not on any external server like screencast.com. It's just in the learning management system, which is again controlled by the university. So no, I haven't had privacy issues. The questions that have come up though have been, do you need to make captions? No, because you're giving feedback to one student. When you make a video for the whole class, then you need closed captions. But if you're giving feedback to one student, you don't. If obviously if the student has an accommodation request, then you wouldn't make the video. You might give the text feedback to the student, or make a video with captions, but you couldn't make captions for everybody.
You do have the like Zoom can do auto captioning, and a lot of these tools now I think can do auto captioning, so that's always an option too, right?
Yeah. Now, what our university has noted is that the Zoom captions are never accurate, and so if we're making a video for a class, I don't think we can just use the Zoom captions. So it is a nice feature, but I'm not sure that it would suffice in the case of an accommodation. For the record, way before I was using video feedback, I started using audio feedback, and I started using audio feedback something like in the year 2000. And there's lots of literature on that, and I eventually did my dissertation on that. And so a lot of what you read about video feedback is similar to what you would see in literature on audio feedback. The instructor becomes more of a coach than a judge. I can hear his or her tone. I can you heard you saw things like being succinct, being personable, that kind of thing. I hope I came out that way in some of my examples. But I have had students mention, it's always great to be able to see what the issue is and hear your voice. So.
All right, so I do have a slide I can share for the end. If we don't have any other questions, I really appreciate the presentation today. I love Camtasia, but I totally agree for faculty, the fact that they all have Zoom. I think it's such a low barrier point to get in, that everything then you're saying is so on point. So I appreciate that. If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and share our final slide here for you, if everybody can see my screen. Yeah. Thank you all for coming today to our presentation. There is another one tomorrow. I don't know if anybody is coming to that one. But yeah, thank you all so much. And I guess with that, have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.